Hmm.
Hi Doris, I see you on.
Hi. Good, you found your email. It's
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Couple more minutes. I just want to tell the folks from Board 10. Friends from Board 10, we're going to start in about 2 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you.
thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi Dean.
Hi.
We're streaming already.
Yes, starting 6:30. So hold the cursing to a minimum, please.
What's the fun in that?
I get to tell my tired old jokes to a different community board.
How many people were there last night? Do you have an idea?
How's John doing, Doris?
Good. It's,
We're leaving Florida Monday morning.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're down there late.
Well, we came down a little bit later. We stayed
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. Well, I would say May was a miserable month, so you're okay to miss it.
I'll tell you one thing. It is hot. I could never live down here.
Oh.
It is, even now, it's scorching. It's unbelievable.
So I just want to tell you, you're welcome to have a conversation, but this is being recorded and webcast and will be on YouTube forever. So please don't give out any personal information, like where you're going to be.
And we're at 2 minutes, so I think we can get started. People coming in. Okay, that's awesome. Great. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for joining the Transportation Committee meeting. If you're joining us in person at the Community Board 7 Board office, we're also hosting the meeting tonight with Community Board 10, in particular because of the first agenda item where we have a presentation discussion from the New York Department of State. So as my name is Katie Walsh, I'm the chair of the Transportation Committee for Community Board 7, and John DeLuper is the vice chair for Transportation Committee. So the agenda tonight, we have these 3 items is a discussion presentation from State DOT on the Owl's Head Rehabilitation Project. I think I got that name right. 60th Street and 3rd Avenue intersection specifically. We'll have an update from representative from Senator Ganortis's office on a site visit that happened, but overall safety and improvement measures. And then a follow-up on the dining out proposal, dining out process that is specifically the outdoor eating, the sheds for the city of New York. I just want to say thank you to our Community Board 10 partnership. We have you on for the first agenda item. You're welcome, of course, to remain with us for those second agenda items if you would like, but we definitely anticipate a lot of the discussion being sort of focused in and around the Community Board 7 jurisdiction. We have to get started with doing roll call, so I think we'll do Community Board 7 first, and then we'll turn to you for Community Board 10. And then I have a few items that I wanted to run through before we turn it over to State DOT. So Jeremy.
Everybody, as Katie said, I'm going to call roll for Community Board 7 first. Josephine and I flipped a coin, and I get to call Board 10 as well. If you were joining us on Zoom, please remain muted. When I call your name, unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. And please remain muted throughout the meeting until you are called upon. So let's start with Katie Walsh.
Present.
Thank you. John DeLuper.
Present.
Thank you. Damian Andrade. Joan Body. Thank you. Jerry Chan. Thank you. Gabino Morales Escamilla.
Present.
Thank you. Zachary Jacy. Daniel Kaminsky. Roberto Martinez. Marilyn Melman. Jamie Nelson. Samuel Sierra. Thank you. We will move on to Board 10. Please correct me when I butcher your name. Jack Zhang.
Present.
Thank you. Christopher Cesarani. Doris Cruz.
Here.
Thank you. Carmen Feliciano.
Here.
Thank you. Diane Gunardis. Daniel Loud. Dean Resinia.
Present.
Thank you. Stephanie Simone Mahaney.
Present.
Thank you. Larry Stelter. Roll has been called.
Do we have, just so we know for record keeping, do we have quorum for if we wanted to do any votes specifically? I don't anticipate that we do, but we're one short of quorum. Okay, well, maybe someone will show up in person in the next few minutes who is sitting on the Transportation Committee. I'm going to just get started with a few items. There's a lot. I will be succinct as possible. Just to acknowledge, and these are the ones that have come to my awareness, and I'm sure that, well, I hope there hasn't been. We had 2 neighbors who've died in the last couple of weeks, deaths on the street, specifically related to one neighbor who was hit and killed on 53rd and 4th Avenue, and another neighbor who was killed on 39th Street. I know that there's investigations that are going on, and they're still kind of understanding the implications of this. So this is complete, understanding of piecing together what I understand. But just to underscore the and related to transportation and on, being on a bicycle, being hit by a car, and another neighbor falling off because of the road conditions, just really emphasizing the humanity of what this work is that we do in the Transportation Committee. And the fact that I can't underscore enough that the lack of investments in infrastructure that protects our neighbors results in these outcomes. And so it really matters what we in the community advocate for. It really matters in the community about what we're doing to protect our neighbors and our community members on making sure that they can live to their full potential and live in this community and not be frightened crossing the street. So I just want to, while we have to obviously deal with a lot of the other issues that this committee faces, again, the necessity of investing in infrastructure being so important. And so there really is, I would say, Community Board 7, we have like zero tolerance on like waiting on things that will serve and protect our community. And so like that, there's a real sense of urgency because it's an issue of life and death in a lot of circumstances. And the role of the community board is really important because we can convene discussions, we can catalyze action, and we can make change happen. There's 3 other things I just wanted to acknowledge as well. There was an announcement today about congestion pricing being put on hold indefinitely. This was announced by the governor. This congestion pricing was meant to roll out on June 30th. John and I attended a briefing on Monday with MTA specifically and talking about the rollout and asking different questions. And this announcement just came out today. We do have the MTA coming to our meeting on June 17th. That's the Community Board 7 meeting on June 17th. The MTA was coming to talk about accessibility improvements at the 36th Street subway. And so of course now we will be adding in questions around congestion pricing, whereas a lot of the funding for that was also meant to be reinvested into the MTA. 2 other points. Community Board 7 was asked if we would submit a letter of support to the City of Department of Transportation and the EDC, the Economic Development Corporation, for a proposal that they had put into the state for the RAISE grant. So those that were at our meeting a couple weeks ago, you'll remember that we learned about a submission for infrastructure funds for the RAISE grant, which included investments on First and Second Avenue to become one way, to make an investment on the 51st Street float bridge, and I'm getting that, and one-way conversions on 59th and 60th Street. So we were just asked to provide a letter of support, but given that we had had a lot of community engagement at that session and we were waiting to hear more, we didn't provide a letter of support yet. We're still waiting to find out whether or not they will get that, that grant, and then we'll learn more. Last call to action is the truck study. This is for Community Board 10 as well, and Community Board 7. This is everywhere across New York City. Councilmember Vilas had introduced legislation, which then passed, which is to revisit the truck route in all of New York City that hasn't been revisited since the 70s. And so there's flyers that are outside, but those comments are due by June 30th. And what you end up doing is actually like submitting comments. You can tag it on a map and you can say, I live at 60th and 3rd Street, and this is what usually happens, and provide comments. So I'd really want to encourage everyone to do that. We will have a presentation from Councilmember Vilas's office at that June 17th meeting about the truck study. But in particular in our community, here in Community Board 7, Sunset Park and Windsor Terrace, really want to encourage neighbors to do that. Okay, thank you for bearing with me, and would love to turn it over to the, we have a couple of representatives actually from the State Department of Transportation, but would love to invite you up.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for accommodating New York State Department of Transportation's presentation today's meeting agenda. My name is Lekha Gopal. I am from a State Department of Transportation Region 11 office located at Hunters Point Avenue, Long Island City, New York. I'm the project. Excuse me.
Just speak close.
Okay. I'm the project manager of this project, this bridge rehabilitation of Owl's Head Viaduct over 61st Street, Kings County, New York. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an overview of this project, respond to any questions you may have, and gather your inputs and comments. We will take all the questions and comments at the end of this presentation. What you see on the screen here is the project location. This is Owl's Head Viaduct. The left limit, this is a 40-span bridge, which is on a Shore Parkway. And the left end of the project limit is near exit 1 of this Bell Parkway. And the right end of the project limit is near Gowanus Expressway near 60th Street. The bridge crosses over several local streets. And in addition to that, the John Allen Payne Park playground and the parking lot of Bay Ridge Apartments, and the viaduct is at the vicinity of Tom Joyce soccer field. So let's talk about the existing condition of the bridge and the need of this project. So the bridge was originally constructed in 1940, and the major rehabilitation took place in 1963 and 1983. It means the last major rehabilitation took place around 40 years ago. What you see in the picture in the screen, the current condition of the deck. The top pictures shows the deteriorated deck. The left image is the underdeck, which is spalling concrete and exposed reinforcement. And the right picture shows the corroded top of the deck. So this is a real safety issue of the driving or the community and the driving people. We need to address that. So, and also the deck have a severe leaking issues also. Because of this water leaking, the substructure and the superstructure of the steel structure is getting corroded. What you see in the image, the bottom pictures, the superstructure, steel superstructure is corroded. And this corrosion, because of the corrosion, there is the load carrying capacity is really compromised. This need to be addressed. It is a real safety issue to the driving public. So similar to the superstructure, the substructure, that is the column, steel column, the top left picture, what you see is the steel column, which is encased in concrete, which is corroded. And also the concrete encasement is spalling. This also reduces the load carrying capacity of the structure. That is a real safety issue. Similarly, the bearing of the bridge is corroded and it is not functioning properly. And the bridge have several drainage issues because of the clogged and obsolete drainage structures. And that is a real safety issue to the driving public, and that need to be addressed. So considering all these things, the objective of this project is to ensure the safety and the reliability of the viaduct to the traveling public by repairing the existing deteriorated steel substructure and superstructure, as well as replacing the deck, concrete deck. We also anticipate improving the bridge safety by upgrading the features like bridge parapets and median barriers, which meet the current safety standards, as well as improve the drainage within the structure and making the driving conditions safer. So the overall objective of this project is to extend the life of the structure and reduce the life cycle cost and cost of maintenance and repair. Next one, yes. So considering all these objectives, we are proposing the following improvements to the bridge. That is the concrete deck replacement, the joint replacement, repair the deteriorated steel superstructure and substructure, bearing replacement. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. This is just a schematic representation of what we are proposing as the improvements. Drainage scuppers, new drainage scuppers and downspouts, new light poles and conduits, new underdeck lighting, and the entire steel painting of the entire viaduct. Next one. So currently we are in the preliminary design phase of this project. This is going to be a staged construction, and we are anticipating to maintain one westbound and one eastbound lane open to traffic throughout the construction on the viaduct. Secondary shielding will be erected under the bridge for entire width of the structure. This will protect the pedestrians from dropping any material. So local streets under the viaduct may be partially closed intermittently throughout the construction. At least one lane of traffic will always be maintained. Lane closures will be coordinated with the New York City Department of Transportation OCMC group and emergency services like FDNY, NYPD, and nearby hospitals. Bus routes and services will be coordinated with the MTA. Parking lot under the viaduct may be blocked off intermittently throughout the construction. Can you go to the next slide, please? John Allen Payne Playground is anticipated to be partially or intermittently closed during construction. We are coordinating with the Department of Parks. Next slide, please. Parking spots of Bay Bridge apartment underneath the viaduct and 20 feet beyond the edge of the structure may be blocked off intermittently during construction. We will coordinate with the owners of the apartment. Similarly, the Tom Joyce soccer field, the red area you see in the screen, which is 20 feet to the beyond the edge of the structure, partially or fully closed intermittently throughout the construction. So the anticipated project schedule is, we are, as I have mentioned, we are in the preliminary design phase, and this is anticipated to finish by end of this summer. And the anticipated final design completion by spring 2026, and letting is expected to be done by fall 2026. And the anticipated construction completion date is by end of 2030. So thank you for listening to the presentation. We here, State DOT, are committed to helping increase the safety of your community and making sure this viaduct is safe and sustainable for many years to go. So thank you. Any questions we will take now?
Thanks. Yeah. I'm sure Community Board 7 in the room and virtually has a lot of questions. I actually want to start out with Jack, who is the Community Board 10 Transportation Chair, and give him the opportunity if you wanted to ask any questions. And also, Jack, if there's anything else that you wanted to add as the meeting was getting started. And then we can give us the flexibility. We're going to try and figure out how to go between people in the room and then virtually. But Jack, can we turn to you?
Yeah, I just one clarifying question just on that last slide to tell me personally is what is letting that was kind of beginning in fall 2026? That I'm not familiar with that term.
Letting date, that's what you are asking?
Yeah.
It's by end October 2026. That is.
No, you don't. We don't know that word. The city uses
Letting.
different words.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It's like it is ready for the. You have the bidder comes, and then they. So we have a different bidders, and then we select. What do you call it?
It's what the city calls contract bids.
Okay. Contract. Okay. Sorry.
We used their term.
All right. Okay.
So contract bid, and then what construction will be 3 years, 2027, 28, 29, 4 years, 29 and 30.
That is, yeah, it is going to be a staged construction. We are planning not to close the viaduct completely. So one lane is anticipated to be open all the time throughout the construction. That is our plan. That's the reason we have to have a staged construction.
For the entire 4 years, and so that's what I'm hearing. And so, what kind of traffic studies, like what kind of traffic impact studies have you and will you be doing with regards to, I guess, even if one lane is going to be one bound, that's going to affect the rest of the streets. Like, what kind of studies have you done?
Yeah, so we are right now, as I have mentioned, we are in a preliminary design right now. When we develop the final design, we will go into the more detailed study of the traffic analysis and come up with the work zone traffic plans and how we are going to do that. Right now, we are in very early stage to give you a specific answer to that question.
Okay. I'll turn it back to you, Chair, for how you manage the meetings normally.
Okay, thank you so much. What we might do is we'll try and take a couple questions in the room and then go virtual, because I know CB10, you have a lot of folks who joined virtually tonight. So maybe I can just ask about the state during the period of construction. Do you anticipate having, and again, I'm trying to use the language I think that you guys use, but staging of your equipment in other places, not just that confined area? And what does that look like? And the reason we're bringing it up is even if things are not happening here in our community, we end up becoming the staging ground for Department of State Transportation, and it's a problem. And so now with construction happening here, we want to better understand what those steps are that are being taken. And I know our city reps have been very vocal about that when that happens here.
Question. Usually a preliminary design itself, we will look for a staging area if it is available. Right now, we are looking for a couple of locations. One of them is in the parkland. That is why we are really coordinating with, maybe the loop ramp over there in the exit one near the Bell Parkway. That is one of our options. That is not confirmed yet. We are 5-6 different options. Like we are looking into the pros and cons of each one of them. And also we have to coordinate with some of them are owned by city and the parks. We have to coordinate with them, and then only we can finalize. So maybe by final design, when we come back, we will have a definite answer to that.
But the construction involves closing one park, 2 parks. The construction, so just the construction involves closing 2 parks. And then am I hearing you right that you're saying of the 5-6 locations, would that involve potentially closing another park somewhere?
No parks. It's like a green area. It is owned by the park. No park. Even this park, we are not planning to close it completely. That's why I said we are coordinating with the park department, how it can be anticipated with the safety of the public and the contractors, how we can do the construction conveniently without affecting too much. Maybe winter months, we could do this thing, nighttime, that kind of thing. I cannot give you more details right now because it's the park's call.
Okay.
We come up with certain options, and then they have to say okay to that with considering the safety of the public.
And then 2 other questions and I'll open it up. You talked about the apartment building that it's in front of. What's the address of that apartment building that would be impacted?
I don't know the address, but that is the Bay Ridge apartment. I can send it to you. Bay Ridge apartment. That is very close to our, maybe you, I don't know.
Bay Ridge Towers.
Yeah, yes. Their parking lot is under our viaduct. Certain spans are under our viaduct, but the whole area won't be closed, but the parking spot under not. It is a safety issue during construction. So we will coordinate with the owners, yes.
Okay, and then the last question for me is, are you aware of state DOT? So our Community Board 7 voted on a street improvement safety plan for 3rd Avenue, in which we requested design. The design implications were supposed to come out. Actually, city DOT is very delayed on this, and implementation was supposed to happen in the summer and the fall. One of the issues we often find is there's not coordination between the state and the city. Are you aware of this street improvement plan proposed for 3rd Avenue? Because if you're doing design, I think you guys should be informed about the safety changes that we are looking for on 3rd Avenue.
We don't own the local streets. So, but the viaduct and Governor's, it's owned by state. So
Yes.
we are not, I am not aware of this improvement, or we are not, maybe.
The reason, just to reinstate, like, we desperately need street safety improvement changes on Third Avenue. And so the Community Board 7 voted on the design that we thought would get us there. And so we're waiting for City DOT to come back with that. I want you guys just to be aware of it because it's really critical and overdue that we have those changes that happen. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Delia Garcia. Hi, okay. Hi again, my name is Delia Garcia. I am assistant to the regional director of Region 11, State DOT, and we are aware of the street improvement program from the city DOT. And to that effect, I have next to me Mimi Barquis. She's the regional traffic engineer, and she could add something about that.
Yes, can you hear me? Okay, I contacted the street improvement program people in city DOT, and they give me the presentation. They said they are talking with you guys and about a lane reduction and projected bike line, option 3. And so I don't know whether that project, we will look into that and see whether our project has any implication on their improvement. Other than that, I don't know the Owl's Head will have any impact on this, their proposed improvement, but we will take a closer look at it.
Questions from the room? We have mics oh, sorry, did you want to add another comment?
But related to your question. Yes, can you hear me? Yes, my name is Gloria Reyes. I'm the Director of Design in Region 11. Regarding your question on the building apartment, just wanted to add to what Leka said, that we have an easement, just for information. The department, the state DOT has an easement under the viaduct, just for your information.
So we'll take a question from the room, and then I would encourage Community Board 10 members, if you have questions, you can put your hand up virtually, and then, okay, so we'll go to the room, and I mean, we have to have a mic that.
Sorry, I have to run out to another meeting. So real quick, right? So I'm looking at design, and I got short time. I only remember like 2 questions. There is an on-ramp going up from, help me out, the gas station over there. Are you planning to close that on-ramp?
During construction you are talking about? It's maybe on a weekend or something. That's what we are thinking, not a long-term closing. We are not anticipating any long-term closing, no.
So following up the chair's question regarding closing the park, there is a baseball field underneath the highway. I think the question is, if you are doing construction and talking about safety and stuff, right? That means that baseball field, I don't know, is private or is it?
Baseball or soccer field, are you talking about the soccer field?
Yeah.
Soccer field, no, it won't be closed. It is owned by the state, and we have a tenant or whoever it is. It is owned by the state. We are not anticipating to close completely, maybe 20 feet from that edge, maybe during some construction time. No, we are not closing completely.
Got 2 more questions. I'll move on to this gentleman over here. You mentioned this bus going to that the stretch on the highway. I've been driving on the highway for a long time, even though it looked like 30, but I've been driving there for like 40 years. But I never see bus route actually going through it. So you might want to be thinking about that, talking to MTA. And then my last question is, you're not planning to do this until later on the year, right? But you also talk about how bad the structure is. What are we doing right now to mitigate the problem now, or put a Band-Aid on until the problem will be fixed?
It's very good question, because state have an inspection program. Every 2 years we go and inspect the bridge, and if you see any imminent issue, we call it red flag conditions, we go and fix it right away. During this time, you don't have to worry about during this period. If you see anything, we will fix it right away and make your the traveling public or community's life safer. Thank you.
Take one more from the room and then we'll go virtually. Thank you, George.
Thank you for having this meeting. The first question, which way is going to be the one way? Towards the water or the other way? The one way on 60th Street? Does anybody know? Because different thing? Okay. Have any of you gone to Third Avenue and talked to residents or businesses? Because I went from 62nd to 54. Nobody knew anything about this. Does Bay Ridge is aware that the trucks will be going through their neighborhood? Okay, then I'll move. And just to make it personal, Frank Barretto on 60th Street, Monday was hit by a scooter. He's in critical situation. The reason I name his name is because a lot of people here talk about, oh, somebody got hit and this and that. So I'm personalizing it with a Frank Barretto, his late 70s, and I'm getting updates now. He's not looking good. The guy hit him and kept going. So we just got to think of those personal names. We can't just go anymore. This happened to this and this and that. It's a human being. So thank you.
Much. We'll go to Lynn.
Doris Cruz.
Oh, thank you. There's an entrance to the eastbound Belt Parkway on 2nd Avenue and about 63rd Street, 64th. How will that be impacted?
Local street or on the ramp? The
No,
entrance-
it's ground level. But while you're doing construction, will
ground
that,
level, we don't do anything on the ground level. We are talking about the bridge, which is above that. That's what we are.
okay, but during
planning.
construction, you might need equipment there, you might need to do staging. Will that be impacted?
No, we don't. We are not anticipating to do any staging in that area. We are thinking of something else. Maybe it's a very short period of time. Maybe you will see some disruption because we are putting secondary shielding underneath the bridge. So maybe it is a nighttime construction or off-peak time. You may see something. Other than that, during this construction, you don't see any kind of issues in these streets.
Thank you.
Jack Zhang.
Hi. So there's a BQ project that's kind of ongoing around the same time, and it will affect us around the same time, starting in 2026, 2027 as well, with construction likely on the BQE south part of it. Like, have you discussed this with, I guess, the city DOT who owns that project? And how are you coordinating with them around that? Because if we have dual construction project, that's going to impact our community significantly, even more if you're going to close like different parts of the road there.
And Jack, is that the BQE revisioning, reconnecting communities project
Right.
that you're referring to?
That's correct.
So what's your question? How is it going to affect the traveling public or the traffic? That's what you meant, or?
Yeah, if you're gonna have like a significant stretch of road that's let's say like all of BQE is under partial construction for 5 years plus, and you have this project that's gonna be under construction for a similar span of period, even though it's like a shorter span of length. Basically coterminous in terms of time, like that's going to be dramatically impactful to everyone who lives in that area. So have you had any of those discussions with city DOT?
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yes, I can answer that question. We have an interagency meeting with the City DOT Port Authority. So every month we have a meeting and we talk about all the construction projects from all the agencies, and we coordinate and we try to have less disruption to the traveling public. So we coordinate all the projects with all the agencies in New York City. Did I answer your question?
Have you guys talked specifically about the BQE revisioning project related to this initiative?
Usually we the construction start date, end date, we look at all the agencies, look at the overlapping, and all the agencies try to minimize the disruption to the traveling public. So we will take the schedule for that project for the Owl's Head also to see.
You have to keep talking into it.
To minimize the disruption, we will coordinate with that.
Any other questions online, Jeremy?
Folks, if you are joining us on Zoom and you wish to speak or ask questions, please use the raise hand function.
And we'll come back. John, you have a bunch of questions, so.
I do. I'm gonna say this is a little bit personal to me because I live near where your work's gonna be happening. And this issue is very important to me because, you know, the deteriorating conditions are a problem. I'm aware of, for instance, a hole on the highway where it is. I'm also aware that chunks fall off. And here I have a bolt that I found there. So to me, I think the urgency of making these repairs should be emphasized. And I hope you guys can come back here. That said, I'm actually really worried about this project because the current work that has been going for the painting has really been a problem to the neighborhood. So George asked a great question about outreach, and I want to follow up on that because right now there's 4 schools at that intersection. They're at 60th and 3rd. There's a daycare. There's a whole lot of neighbors. You know, there's all kinds of things, and the communication in the current painting has really been unclear. You know, there've been the road closures you talked about coming up for this, but these road closures have been unpredictable. They've happened at all hours. Whole chunks of the road have been closed and people redirected around things. So I would hope, you know, when the city does their projects, they send notices, like the work on 4th Avenue, we're getting notices about what work is happening. With the state stuff, it was totally unpredictable. We see, you know, signs maybe saying don't park here, like the day before, and that didn't happen. Also, the material storage that Katie mentioned, that's a huge issue. There's still stuff from the painting project all over the place in the area, you know, going from 58 to 62nd, and there's been stuff throughout the project on the rest of 3rd Avenue. So, I mean, I really, when you come back to us, I want to hear more robust plans for dealing with that because right now this stuff is everywhere. And that's really, you had a... No, I'm saying okay. So I do definitely want you to address that. I also want to hear when you come back stuff about the air quality because the machines used for sandblasting and stuff have been really terrible. And I know some of our other board members live on 3rd Avenue and they've talked about it too. Those machines seem to have really bad air quality. They seem to be making things a lot worse. So I would urge you to come back with a plan saying that they'll be safe for our community because, you know, I had a cough for months when they were doing this. Finally, with the closures, 60th and 3rd, next to 4 schools, thousands of kids, half the intersection was closed for 11 months for this repainting project. So there needs to be plans to deal with that and to, you know, make it safe because everyone had to cross on one side, but they weren't doing it. So people were crossing in the middle of the street. So I'm hoping when you guys come back, you can have more robust timelines with things going fast because this stuff took forever while people were walking in the middle of the street. So I'll finish with just one more thing about the parks. John, I can't say for the Father Tom Joyce ball field how that's closures have worked there in the past, but I know with John Allen Payne, when chunks have fallen off, I mean, I don't know if it's you, the state, or the Parks Department has closed that entire park, sometimes for weeks at a time. So that needs to be addressed, and that needs to, a strategy needs to be figured out there, because I know this community a couple of years ago was really upset, just even when the park was rehabilitated, how long that took. Finally, with the park, is there any possibility for bird mitigation? Because I know that, I think you've done that in some other areas under the highway. And right now, the basketball courts and the swings, the adult swings tend to have lots of bird droppings from all the birds who nest in the viaduct. And I think that in the past, by the Tom Joyce ball field and by the BMW and maybe a few other ones, there have been like anti-bird tools. So I would urge that to be included as well. Yeah.
The purpose of this thing is just to get your concerns and your questions and inputs. We will definitely consider that during the final design.
Is there anybody here who is aware of and engaged on the painting project and these issues that we've been escalating? do you have the ability to put us in touch with the right people within state DOT? Because this has gone on unanswered for a very long time. And it can be something that we can set up, but I think like there's not a lot of confidence in the ability for state DOT in the service in this community. The fact that we were in this situation on 60th and 3rd, we have a whole other agenda item on this because of the safety hazards. We just, the environmental pollution. I don't know if you know our community, but we have some of the highest asthma rates because the BQE rips through our community. And that's why we're so desperate for the revisioning BQE, because we're sick and tired of being sick. So these are really, really critical issues, and we don't have partnership with state DOT. And so that's why like you're coming and presenting tonight on this project in 2026, but like we don't see you as a good neighbor working here now.
I understand everything that you're saying. We're making a note of it. But I understand also that for the Gowanus Expressway steel painting job, you have been in communication with the community liaison for that project. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen a few emails where you have listed a certain concerns, particularly for the 60th Street and 3rd Avenue. And they have been addressed either through state or through city DOT. But if there's anything that it's still pending, it has not been addressed, please, I will give you my personal email, and we could also follow up with the project team, okay?
I mean, a lot of the worst of it is done now, but we found that the communication back and forth was really lacking. So I encourage you to
Okay,
working
yes.
with your team. We were not hearing back timely responses, or things that we were told were addressed were not addressed, and then follow-ups also seemed to kind of not really.
Okay, yes. And we have some additional information regarding the Gowanus steel painting job. It's okay, so what I understand is that they completed the work at the 60th Street and 3rd Avenue, and that they're going to be moving to other locations. But we don't have a list of the locations, right?
We were told that the steel repairs, they cannot predict, because when the, like Lekha mentioned, when the red flag something comes, they have to repair it immediately. So the steel repair is ongoing all over the place, but they said the project will be completed in December 2025. The steel repairs, the painting, but they said it is completed at this section. And now they are painting at the Hamilton Avenue area.
Still a lot of equipment and, materials stored there, so. Vehicles.
Near the 60th Street. Okay, we will bring that to their attention.
So if we have any other questions on this specific, I'm sure there will be more. I'll go in the room, and then I'll go virtual before we close and go to the next agenda item. In the interim, as the mic is being passed, is when will you come back to Community Board 7 and Community Board 10 with the next steps? And how can we be partners? How can we give you input in this process? Because we're the ones who live here and have to live with this. So can you tell us how to provide the input, and also when you will come back? And if you can speak directly into the, yeah.
Usually we come back during, by the end of final design. That's what we do before the project goes to the final plan sets, and what we call it before the letting, or that's couple of months. I don't exactly know how much before, sometimes in 2026, I could say that Yeah.
So I'll kind of put this on us, Community Board 7 and Community Board 10. I think we should put together a letter of all of these issues that we've raised today and all of the concerns based on our experience, based on what we know about this community in the district. We will put that together. We'll work with Community Board 10 and then we'll send it to you. And we would like that to be included in your review of your design and planning. And please think of us as a way to engage us so that we're part of the discussion. We'll turn to Eddie.
Hi. In addition to everything that's been said here to date, which I underscore, I also live in the neighborhood. I'm raising 2 young children. I'm concerned about their health. I'm daily concerned about our safety under the viaduct. And one thing I want to call out that hasn't been raised yet is for those of us who live on the Sunset Park waterfront side, one of the only safe places of passage out of the neighborhood, given that we're kind of hemmed in on an extremely dangerous 3rd Avenue. And given that 65th Street is an on-ramp to the BQE and has multiple lanes of traffic, which is reckless and dangerous, one of the only safe places of passage for us is the underpass on 2nd Avenue at 65th Street between 65th and whatever that is, Ridge. I just would encourage you to also think about the pedestrian safety and implications of this work. Much of the work to date has felt as though pedestrian safety is an afterthought. There's not lighting, there's metal in the way, there's obstacles, whether it's staging, and, it says something that one of the only safe places for us to leave our neighborhood is past a block that is filled with oil trucks that take up the entire place. I mean, so just know that that is at this point one of my only safe ways to leave the neighborhood. And if it is going to be interrupted by construction, it's really important that pedestrian safety is considered there.
Thank you.
And we'll take one other question here and then we do need to get a mic. No, because we can't hear you then.
I would like the people that are, my English is not that great, but you people are sponsoring somebody, you work for somebody. I would like to invite you to our neighborhood. So one morning, you go there one morning and see what's going on. I would hope that you would go to our neighborhood, 60th, 62nd, 63rd Street, and see what's going on in that neighborhood. And it has a lot to do with the construction that was going on. And it's, even though they're finished, it's still going on because there's garbage all over the place. So if you can come down to our neighborhood and just look around and see what happens in the morning when the people are going to school, the kids and everything, you will see exactly what we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know typically one of the ways to extend the longevity of elevated road is to reduce the speed and volume of traffic. And I'm wondering if you've looked into any traffic engineering solutions to try to promote the longevity of your fixes, protect the road as it exists now, and to reduce the frequency of repairs in this vulnerable stretch of highway.
It's not the frequency, because when you design something, every structure have a design life by 40 years or 70 years. So it's continuously traffic is moving through that. The wheel load is going through over and over, the fatigue cracks and everything. So like a human being, it's a body we are using over and over, it's get deteriorated. The same way the structure, and also the temperature changes. Big freezing and thawing, all these things will deteriorate the structure. So for us, Department of Transportation, we need to ensure the safety of the traveling public. So about the bridges, we go and inspect all the bridges in 5 boroughs. We see a lot of issues. All our infrastructure are old, getting older. This bridge, 1940 constructed, it's rehabilitated a couple of times. But whenever we see issues, we come and fix it. Like you are saying, always construction in Govanas. Why? The structure, if we see issues, we have to come and fix it. This kind of rehabilitation, we don't see us more often. For next maybe 40 years, it can be reduced, that kind of repair work. That is the main purpose of this kind of rehabilitation. That's why we are proposing this kind of rehabilitation for the bridges. So over and over, the traffic, we load on that one, the fatigue cracks. Think about the structure. It's a steel concrete structure. Everything has a certain age. And the temperature, New York temperature, it is freezing and thawing. that also will deteriorate the structure, the stability of the structure, the load carrying capacity of the structure. So we think about it's if a catastrophic failure, something happened, think about that. We saw it in other states. So we are trying to avoid that kind of thing. But during construction, I'm absolutely with you guys. The driving public, I don't like construction on the road because it's a pain. But think about the safety and repair cost. We have to do it.
Or you
We
could tear down the BQE, but that's
yeah,
another
but
option.
we
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. So the West Side Highway came down when a dump truck fell through it in the 1970s, and now you have the West Side Highway, which is on road. So I mean, there are mine can expand in terms of options and possibilities. I know we need to go to the other agenda items that we had, but we'll go to folks online, and then we have 2 more agenda items. Thank you for people who are in the room as well. Before we go to that.
Yes, we do. I have Larry Stelter next.
Yes, question about is the painting involve lead removal, or is that separate from the reconstruction of the structure? Are there any structural issues on the viaduct itself? Are they 2 separate projects, or is it a more serious structural issue about the entire viaduct to be standing, or just a brief, capsulation of the scope?
Your question is, it's the rehabilitation of the repair of the structural members and painting are 2 different projects. Is that your question, or?
Yes, that's the question. And again, are there any serious structural issues with the viaduct?
Yes, we have serious structural issues. A couple of red flag, that is what we call it. If it's a section loss is more than a certain percentage, there is a lot of structural flags on this roadway. Maybe you see it, some girders, we put some barriers, temporary barriers right now in order to avoid the wheel load if you drive through that area. So that is also a pain for the traveling public. So it's that particular member cannot handle the wheel load. That is why we are avoiding the live load. So this bridge have a real serious load carrying issues. That's why we initiate this project.
And the painting, is that includes lead removal, lead abatement?
The painting is usually we paint the bridges in certain, sometimes we add it along with the rehabilitation projects. Otherwise, we have to come back in again and do it. So do it along with the rehab project. That will be better for you and us. That's why we added.
Because I see the tented areas around the whole structure. Is that because of the lead abatement
Can you repeat
or the
that?
painting?
Yes.
It's like a big, a big bag, encapsulating the structure. Is that part of the lead abatement, or?
Lead abatement, I think the existing paint we checked some lead, the hazmat, hazardous material testing, and the existing paint have lead on it. So we have to change. That is also a health issue too. This was really the old structure. It is. So we have to do that too.
So just to hear right, you are, in addition to the structural rehabilitation, repainting the area,
The whole
as well,
structure,
the whole thing.
yes,
Okay.
whole structure.
And
yes.
that includes lead abatement.
Yes.
I take it back 1941 and 1969. They had lead paint. Okay. Very good.
We think so. That's what we see it now.
Okay. Well, no additional hands up. So thank you so much. We, Community Board 10, Community Board 7 will collaborate. And then on a letter outlining a lot of the things that we talked about today, we invite you to come back. In the short term, we'll be able to work with you on some of the existing issues that we have related to the painting and staging, and then for this next project. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our state reps are staying for the next agenda item, which is on 60th and 3rd. And we have Francesca, who's in Senator Ganordis's team, to talk a little bit about site visit that they facilitated on 60th and 3rd and the follow-up related to that. And I don't think you're just verbally presenting, right? There's no like slides or anything.
No slides today. Hi, everyone. Let me just pull up my notes really quick.
Get very close to the mic.
Definitely, I won't forget, I promise. Okay, so a couple weeks back, we had a great site visit. We were blessed to have state DOT, city DOT. Thank you for coming. It's great to see you again. And we also had DSNY and we had the 72nd precinct. My office was around, but we also had Rob from Councilmember Avilas's office and Emmett from Assemblymember Matein's office as well, who joined us. And we got to see in real time a family almost get hit by a truck on the corner of 60th Street because he didn't have the room to make the turn and he didn't have the time to make the turn, but he didn't care. So issues like that, we were really happy that we were able to see that in real time with everybody around because it just highlights the gross negligence for safety concerns and how we keep forgetting the fact that there are 4 schools growing. Next year, they're going to have 4th and 5th graders crossing that insane intersection by themselves with people not caring that they're children crossing the street. So there's a lot of things that we have ahead of us. I have a follow-up meeting on Friday with everybody who attended the site visit, and we're going to be reviewing a few different goals. We have outlined short-term goals, medium-term, if you will, and also long-term goals as we look into the future, keeping everybody safe long-term and what we want everything to look like, especially in light of will 60th Street become one way? What will happen to 1st and 2nd Avenues? We're going to have to look long-term to see what happens there. Previously, before this site visit, because I got a little heated for a second, previously before this site visit, my office made sure to change the direction of traffic on 59th Street actually, and coupled that with moving a bus stop. So then at the very least, the kids getting on the bus, they just have to get on the bus right in front of the school. Because before then, you have kids, mostly middle schoolers, mostly alone, not with a parent, running back and forth, crossing the street, trying to get on the bus, trying to get home, trying to be cool with their friends, not knowing everything that's going around, right? So that was great. We were able to change the direction of traffic. We also blocked off and implemented bollards. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called, but the large concrete pieces, Jersey barriers. You learn something new every day. Jersey barriers to also make sure and enforce that nobody can go up and down 59th Street through 3rd Avenue, which has helped a lot for those schools, but that doesn't take into consideration 60th Street. That doesn't take into consideration that when DOT was painting and that side of the street was closed, there were kids crossing the street on scooters and mopeds, not caring about the light, didn't even have enough time to cross the light, and getting caught in the middle of a highway and almost getting hit on a daily basis. We were lucky that we didn't have to deal with tragedies that are going to traumatize us to this day. However, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be putting plans in action to take care of this. Another thing that we want to look at especially is red light cameras and speed cameras so that we can enforce the speed limit, especially now in light with Sammy's Law. We're so happy that Sammy's Law was passed in the Senate because now you can't go that fast. You can't speed as much, especially when you're surrounded by 4 schools. Yes, so in wake of that, basically just making sure that it is safer for these kids to cross the street, regardless of what's going on. There's a lot of measures that we can implement. There's a lot of things that we need enforcement on. I'm not gonna bore everybody with enforcement issues since the 72nd precinct is not here today, but I do want to promise that that is on the forefront of our minds, is that there's a lot of enforcement absent here, and that needs to change. But we would love the partnership of state and city DOT to help us reimagine what it is like to cross the street on 59th and 60th on 3rd Avenue. Make those lights longer, make it safer so that if somebody does get stranded in the middle of the street, they're not open to whatever life throws at them. I can go into questions and stuff. I don't want to go too deep and bore everybody, but that's basically the gist of our site visit. It was great that we got to see some scary things happen in real time because it really personalized it for everybody. And I hope that we can continue to make long-term improvements.
Before we open up to questions, do you want to highlight one or two of the short, medium, and long-term things that are going to be part of the follow-up? Just so that
Definitely.
people know.
I'll keep it DOT focused since we don't have NYPD here today. But post the truck route open comment period, we want to see how that will affect us long term. As well as if we can implement more speed bumps or a raised crosswalk in this area. So that it is safer for kids to cross the street, but also so that if a car is speeding, that the speed bump will kind of mitigate that issue a bit. Our like medium-term goals were to address the drainage issues that are spilling out, because those puddles block an already incredibly difficult crosswalk. And then as far as short-term goals that we would love for DOT to work with us on are maxing out, making sure that we have as many signs as possible, because we definitely need more. We need more than one school sign on 60th Street. We need louder, more visible signage that you cannot ignore. And especially just school crossing in general. We're also looking to, like I mentioned before, retime the signals, because I think it's not even 20 seconds. You need more to cross how long 3rd Avenue is. People need more time, especially when we think of little people, little feet crossing the street. And specifically for red light cameras, we want one in the middle lane of the Gowanus, because we don't have a red light camera in the middle lane of the Gowanus. And talking with NYPD, that they thought that that would really help their enforcement efforts. So we definitely want to assist them in those enforcement efforts with the technology in place that scares drivers. If they know the camera's coming, they're less likely to do it versus, oh, maybe there's a cop there. It's like, no, there's a camera. We will take a picture of your license plate. You cannot blow the red light here. Or speed, if we get another speed camera. We were also thinking about flexible delineators on the medians for 60th Street as well as a short-term goal. But I'll wrap it up there since we are kind of in the beginning works of getting everybody together on this.
Yeah. Thank you, Francesca. And I want to ask, so we had invited City DOT to be at this meeting tonight. They couldn't make it. We just found out at like 4 o'clock. So there's no representative online and there's no one here from City DOT to be able to talk about 60th and 3rd. Because of the fact that we had this agenda item with State DOT and we have the reps, I want to give them the chance to talk about, make any comments about 60th and 3rd and the safety ahead of opening up to questions from people here. And I think especially important is this question of accountability for improvements and changes and your understanding of the intersection and State DOT.
Yes, we looked at that 60th Street and 3rd Avenue intersection, and we talked to City DOT, and they told us they have a project, a street improvement project, and they had conversation with the Community Board 7, and they are right now in the stage of like they are doing the design and traffic analysis phase, which is taking a little bit longer, is what the City DOT told us. So once it is completed, they're going to engage Community Board. They are proposing, they're definitely going to engage with the Community Board. And then we looked at, you have to know that, I think at the last meeting, we said that local DOT and we own the viaduct and the highways. So it is the City DOT going to do the improvement, street improvement, but we going to help as a Yeah, if City DOT need any help with the coordinating with the state projects, we are more than happy to assist them. And we also understand that the schools there are so many schools, and we also care about the safety of the pedestrian and bicyclists. And then regarding the drainage issue, the out. So what we're going to go back to the office and we're going to ask our maintenance group to come out and take a look at it and see how to mitigate that issue that the water draining to the crosswalk.
If I may,
Yes.
as Katie mentioned, accountability is a big issue, and we definitely want to build a better relationship of trust here, especially since we're talking about safety improvements so that everybody can live a safe and peaceful life. As far as we're heading into the summer, we're expecting to have a summer full of storms. They're saying it's going to be an El Nino summer. So if we're going to be faced, unfortunately, with a summer full of storms, is it going to take 4 years for us to do something about all of the spills and all of the improper drainage? Like,
That-
how long can that be fixed? Because like, if we're looking at a timetable, like we can't, like if it's a red flag issue, red flags take 4 years to address. How long should we expect?
Regarding the drainage issue that the sprout going to the sidewalk, definitely within maybe next week, we will ask the maintenance to come out and take a look at it and see how to mitigate that, whether we can divert that drainage sprout from up, not going to that crosswalk. We will take a look at it next week. Someone is going to come down. Yeah.
That sounds beautiful. Thank you so much.
Go to questions or comments in the room. I know that we had earlier, George had some points for 60th and 3rd, and then yeah, we'll go to the room if you have questions or comments, and then we'll go online for this agenda item. So thank you.
First question, which way is the one way going to be on 60th? Because I've asked a few people and nobody knows. So how can you propose to make it one way when you don't know which way?
What way
Do I
do you
make
want
sense
it?
with my question? All right, thank you. So,
Partially as a joke, but also I am curious.
No, I like
What
that.
way do you think is better?
I think it should stay two-way because that's the one way to go for the ambulance. I don't know if you guys have talked to EMT drivers. They're already having a difficult time. Has anybody gone to Third Avenue to talk to residents or businesses? She gave me a great idea. So I went from 62nd to 54 and I talked to a lot of businesses and no one knew anything about this. I see repairs on Third Avenue, but nothing permanent. Can I put a speed bump on my sidewalk? It's a little joke, but you bring up a good point with that. And, one question I was asked when I was a kid, what do you do when you see a ball? You're driving and you see a ball. What do you do? Thank you. I see kids, and a few days ago at a crossing guard on 60th and 3rd, stop a car. The guy got out to fight with the lady. I was there, so with my mouth, I intervened and he got back in his car and left. But it's a little old lady and she's trying to protect the kids. You really got to get somewhere that fast. You wait 40 seconds and you get to wherever you're at. And I think one of the worst things is for anyone to hit a child. I've never done, I think you would feel horrible. And you guys bring up a good point. They speed. They want to make that light. The light turns red. 8 seconds later, they're still going through. And I got people here that I spoke to from 60th on 3rd and 2nd, 58th, 3rd and 4th, and they talk about a lot of these issues that happen. And I had sent videos to Kathy about these trucks that got stuck and everything was falling behind. The traffic lights, some were red, some were green. I called 311. I wasn't getting anywhere. I called her and all of a sudden they came and repaired it. So I don't know if it was coincident or if you did something, but that's dangerous because you got the guy that wants to make it look like it's green, doesn't care the other light is. And I'm like, doesn't matter if it's green or red. Look at these little kids. And she brings up a point. A lot of these kids cross the street by themselves. And I'm there. I'm on 61st and 3rd, and I see them. I'm like, you just get nervous. So that's my point and the points you brought up. Thank you.
You. Again, so a resident, I live within a block of this intersection. I'm really disappointed that city DOT isn't here. I understand they're probably dealing with the congestion pricing fallout, but that's even more of a reason for us to treat this with urgency. There's going to be increasing cars on our road, behaving as recklessly as they ever have. So all that being said, I also think that NYPD not being here from an enforcement standpoint is a problem. It's also a problem for the school safety agent allocation and how they assign those resources. I guess I'll have 2 points. One is I think that there's immediate short-term safety improvements that must be made as we kind of wait for the city to do the intensive capital redesign work that we know is in the hopper, but we can't afford to wait. We can't afford to wait for a child to be killed. We can't afford to wait for one of our neighbors to be killed. Like, something has to happen now while we're waiting for the kind of re-envisioning of this corridor. I think in that vein, I encourage the city and the state to consider the implementation of red light cameras in the center lanes. I don't know if it's possible to do red light cameras for those that are making the turns, but one of the problems with that intersection is that people are they're running the red light on the turn, which is an issue. And then they're also doing illegal turns into the service lane from that center lane. And so people are starting to walk and they're not looking for cars turning into them. In both directions, that's an issue. Again, school crossing guards, I've talked to the school crossing guards outside of that school, and they've told me on multiple occasions that they get often called out to other schools, leaving those 4 schools in that intersection with no coverage. It's just unacceptable. The NYPD should not be allowed to make those types of resource decisions for an intersection that's known to be problematic. Speed humps and lighting, this is an issue also for state DOT. Lighting in that intersection is unbelievably terrible. It was particularly problematic when all the work was being done on the repainting. It was literally a death wish walking across that street at night. It's still a problem. Drivers don't see you anyways with the sun out. They're not going to see you at night without lighting underneath. And then daylight. I was walking through the intersection today and there were box trucks parked on the curbs in the corners. And I yelled at to any request for people to accommodate mothers with strollers and babies is treated with. It's a problem with our society. Long-term radical redesign of 3rd Avenue is necessary. That's service street, school street should be closed during school hours, maybe all the time. And we need hard barriers and hard bollards to protect us. Thank you.
So much. Is there any, answer the crossing guard issue possibly? Sure. And then I would just say if there's any questions online, we'll turn to them in a second.
And I'm sorry, I just forgot one more point. We have just a couple of months until school is back in session. I really think it's urgent that the city has a safety plan for those schools going into this upcoming school year.
The biggest issue that I've had talking to the 72nd precinct about what we could do to increase school crossing guards is that they don't have an interest. So they have currently about 16 open slots. They only pay $18 an hour. Most people, when they apply and they're told that that's how much the pay is, they're not interested anymore.
Actually, the mayor cut the positions that weren't filled, so we have no open slots.
And it gets worse. So yeah, it's not okay. I've been stressing to Deputy Inspector Suarez that this is an intersection that needs to be prioritized, considering that there's intersections that don't need 2 crossing guards, but this needs 2 crossing guards, that this should be reprioritized. And for a little bit, it was taken seriously, but this past week, I've noticed that they don't care anymore. So that is something that I will raise this week with them on Friday.
I just say I agree with Edie. I think flexible delineators are worse than useless. They give a false sense of security, and hard barriers are necessary. There are 2 online. I have Magana Nayak. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Megan Nayak, and I'm the PTA president of PS 939. I was at that site visit, and I really, really appreciate Francesca and the people from the elected officials' offices. I think it's disgusting that the New York City DOT and the precinct are not here. I don't know if it's deliberate or not, because anyone who was at that meeting can tell you that I was very, very, very forceful about accountability. And I think they don't want to be. I don't think they care. So I think in the short term, we absolutely need school signage. I've asked 1,000 times for that. New York City DOT, there's 2 tickets. I know that Senator Granardis's office is following up on that. And you know, if the city and the police don't care about us and what's going to happen to us, then you know we have to figure out something. There must be a safety plan in place. I mean, I'm just shocked about the lack of accountability. I shouldn't be after coming to these meetings. I have been talking about this for so long. I witnessed someone almost get hit, and it's just luck that no one has been killed at this point. So I just wanted on the record that anything that the precinct and New York City DOT has to say about how much they care and how this is a priority, their lack of presence here at this meeting has proven the point of many of us all along that they don't care. So if we could just at least focus on the short term, I've given up on everything else. If we could just get school signage, gigantic school signage, and maybe some barriers right at the corners to protect the little ones, that may be all that we can hope for, because I'm, you know, pretty close to giving up. It's disgusting. Thank you.
I do have the bollards for the actual like side also on my list. I forgot to mention that as well. Apologies. As for the 2 open DOT tickets or cases, if you will, for signage, I asked them 2 weeks ago for an update and I was given a non-answer. So trust me, I will be following up on that on Friday. Just wanted to add.
I have Amanda Beltran next. Amanda, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I've lived at 61st between 2nd and 3rd my whole life. And I never crossed at 60th and 3rd growing up because of how dangerous it was. And you know, we have 2 kids crossing the street with my son, having to bring him to school. We almost got hit because an accident had happened because someone was doing a turn. So I remember for a long time, NYPD used to be at both sides of the intersection. And when there were no crossing guards available, they would make themselves available and be the ones there helping to stop the flow of traffic so that kids can cross the street. So if we can at least have them come, that would be fantastic as a mechanism to prevent people from acting like fools. The other thing that I noticed whenever any construction happens, and this is for the state, there's a serious lack of coordination on safety measures for pedestrians. The temporary traffic lights that were put in, the like temporary bollards or to protect the traffic lights of all things versus the people were constantly pushed into the sidewalks. There was the intersections, that the medians that are already so small, and there needs to be better coordination to improve pedestrian safety when there is any construction happening. Even the fact that when the construction happened, even though everything was prepped for months, it wasn't until the start of the school year when the actual repainting was happening. So kids are walking through fumes to get to school. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. So, and the second question for the state would be, have you considered closing off the on and off ramps on 3rd Avenue? Because a lot of the traffic that tends to happen, the illegal turns that tend to happen at those intersections, is because people are rushing to go on and off to the elevated highway, and then we have those monster trucks that are going through. And they also can never turn properly. So I said a lot. Thank you.
It sounds like those questions are directed to state DOT, so do you want to respond to them now? Or Francesca, how do you want to handle those?
So are you guys able to answer that for us? Thank you, Dana. Thank you.
Hello again. So regarding the better coordination during construction of the still ongoing project for the steel repairs on the Gowanus Expressway, we're gonna make sure that we're gonna bring this concern to the project team one more time, and that we're gonna engage the community liaison to be fully on board all the time. Okay, so let me start again. So your first question or concerns regarding the better coordination during construction of the ongoing project of the Gowanus Expressway steel painting job, I'm going to bring up to the project team these concerns one more time and make sure that they are engaging the community on time regarding the lane closures or locations that they're going to be working on. They have a community liaison on board, which they are responsible to put together construction notices or travel advisories. And I will add the community board email to those the distribution of those emails when they go up. And the second question, if the state has considered closing the on-off ramps, no, we have not considered that alternative yet. But I could bring it back to the executive office as a concern brought up at the community board meeting.
Okay, and then we can.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I want to ask a follow-up on that. I know that the on and off ramps have had jurisdictional issues between the city and the state. And for instance, the on-ramp near going onto the BQE heading toward Staten Island, that side has been very deteriorated. Has the city and the state figured out who actually owns and is responsible for repairing that part? And in addition to that, who is responsible for the off-ramp coming off? Because that has one of those drainage issues that Francesca mentioned where the drainage goes onto the highway where people are exiting, but also down onto the 65th extension where people cross as well.
Okay, in terms of jurisdiction, we will have to go back and look into that, because it's not the only location where there's some murky lines between city DOT and state DOT jurisdiction. It's something that we could look into. But what exactly is your concern? The one in the off-ramp?
Well, so first on the on-ramp, where all the trucks are turning right and getting stuck. Because of these big trucks making these turns, this area gets horribly deteriorated really fast. One of my neighbors tripped on there, almost got run over by a tractor trailer. So this is really bad. For a long time, when in our communications between the city and the state, both sides have been reluctant to acknowledge who owns it. The city says the state and the state has said the city. And as a result, when there's been resurfacings by both agencies, that part has not gotten touched. Now, I think the city recently came by and patched the potholes, but it's still really uneven. So as a pedestrian, it's still a big trip risk. And I'm hoping that when you guys can figure it out, then it can get real repairs so the people walking are safe, especially the kids going to and from the schools. And then with the off ramps, that also relates to the question Amanda just mentioned about 61st Street. I know other people who've had the same issue where they say that they cross there. I've seen even people on walkers and with strollers cross there. And I know that both agencies have been reluctant to talk about that because it's an off ramp, but it's also where the street intersects and there's like a curb cut, so it looks like maybe it's a crossing, but it also has Jersey barrier or guardrails, so which would make it seem like you shouldn't cross there. So yeah, if you can look into all these things and maybe come back with some info and a plan following up on Francesca's thing, because, you know, urgently, you talk about short, medium, and long-term goals, urgently, right, repairing that crosswalk in front of 60th Street where it's deteriorated. Okay, medium term, you know, you guys are working on this flooding, you're talking about dealing with the drainage. So maybe, you know, that can be the medium term to fix that where it's draining on the off ramp there. And then, you know, long term, you look at things like 61st Street, can this be opened? You know, city and state are partnering on reconnecting communities. Maybe there's opportunities there. I don't know. But if you guys can, yeah, work on these things and maybe report back in the future about how you and the city collaborate on these things so that we can know who to ask for what and who to follow up with for what, if that makes
I
sense.
think that I'm making a note of everything, and the first thing is to figure out who is responsible under which state or city jurisdiction it is. So we're definitely going to give you an update on that.
So I'm gonna.
Any chance you could give us a timeline on figuring out, because we've been asking this for months.
Well, unfortunately, I guess, sir, I have to go back to our regional maintenance group. They are the ones who are keeping record of all these official orders. That's how we call it. And that's the official document that we use to decide under which agency it is, that particular ramp or location.
So what I'm gonna do, which might be unpopular, is move to the next agenda item because we still have another agenda item. And I want to say that there are the log of all of these issues and these questions. We have minutes from this meeting tonight. You obviously are taking your own minutes, but if there's anyone from the public that is listening in now or later, any neighbors, please send an email if you want to provide any comments. And it's, I always do this.
BK07 at cb.nyc. BK07 at cb.nyc.gov. Yes.
Okay, so please send an email about anything that you want to flag along the BQE. In particular, the discussion today was talking about 60th Street and 3rd Avenue, and then of course this project, so that Community Board 7 can include those questions and comments and photos if you have them directly into our letter and our follow-up with state and City Department of Transportation. It was really important to have you at tonight's meeting and to be here for both agenda items. So thank you for coming. We're gonna go to the next agenda item, which is on the dining out proposal and process. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And if you were somebody who didn't have a chance to ask your question as they say DOT is walking out, you can go for it. We're going to go to the next question, which is on agenda item, which is on dining out. Two mentions here, the dining out proposal. This is the new process that businesses who want to have outdoor dining or maintain, change their outdoor dining because they had it. This is the new process that they have to go through. We, Community Board 7, along with Community Board 10 and other community boards, we did ask City Department of Transportation, who's in charge of this process, to come to a community board meeting to talk with us so we can better understand it. They have said that they don't have capacity to do that. We had our first application that came through Community Board 7, which was Judy's. Judy's is located on 41st Street and 5th Avenue. And so we had Judy's come and present to the Transportation Committee. And then because we didn't have quorum at the Transportation Committee meeting, we actually took the vote at the last community board meeting. There were a lot of questions that were asked in that full community board meeting about the dining out process. Many of these we had asked in our own Transportation Committee meeting. And so we had this agenda item hoping that City DOT would be here tonight, but they didn't come, but they did send responses to the questions. So John will share this out with everybody, but I think maybe you can just highlight the most important things and then we can move to close.
So I'll just note a couple of the things from the questions that were raised at the last full board meeting, and people had questions about the license fees, and there's some fees that have to be paid annually. There's other fees that have to be paid to some of the local newspapers for public hearings. And full details of that are on the diningout.nyc website. All depending on whether they do a sidewalk or a roadway cafe, there's different hearing structures, and the sidewalk, there can be different circumstances that arise. The full details of this we'll put in our minutes for this meeting. But people also had a lot of questions about outreach and multilingual outreach. So DOT has palm cards available that they've sent to community boards. I think we have some out here. Yeah. And so you can get those, and they're available in several different languages, including Spanish and Chinese, which were asked of this board. There's also email blasts that the DOT has done to all food establishments that have permits with the Department of Health. In addition, City DOT's highway team, when they've done their inspections of these dining establishments, has also given palm cards out during those inspections. They have not done the going door to door to every business in the area, doing outreach like some members had requested, but they have done email blasts to businesses that are under the old program to let them know. In addition, people asked about how they were working with business improvement districts, especially the Fifth Avenue bid. And they said that they've had a meeting at the citywide SBS bid meeting, which includes all the bids. And they also have another call coming up with bids next week. And under the new program, there were questions about how many permits can be issued in any given area, whether there was a cap or anything like that. And there's no cap on the number of businesses that can have this, but the DOT wanted to emphasize that the new program is not really setting up sheds in the old way. These are more open setups that are seasonal, and so they won't be there in the year round as in the old version. So everyone who is licensed under Department of Health is eligible for this. So there's no limits to any there's no cap saying, oh, CB7 can only have a certain amount, or if you're on Fifth Avenue, you can only have so many here or there. So hopefully that answers some of them. Again, this will be in our minutes, and happy to answer any questions if there's anything that I can answer. I'm not the city DOT, so I don't have the full details, but based on this, I'm happy to take a few questions or take things back to the Department of Transportation. What do you want?
Then you're exercising.
Oh, I love that microphone that I don't use. When are they going to go around and take down those abandoned sheds that are not being used?
So, yeah,
That's them, right?
the program ends for the existing ones in August, so they have to have them down then. And I know they have a 311 where you can report abandoned ones. You can report them. Whether they enforce it, that's, we can follow. I'm sure Jeremy can follow up with any 311s that are not responded to. Is that, yeah, okay. And Francesca's saying she would too.
Yes, there is a way to do it, but in order to do anything with DOT, you actually have to sign on to their website and do it there. It's not, when you say 311, it's not as easy as reporting a parking and fire hydrant or something else. They make it very complicated for you to report it.
You work order system.
Yes.
I hear you on that.
Make it better. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Maria had one. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to grab a mic.
You want the handheld, Maria? Or do you...
This is, okay, this is Maria Roca. This is, what I have to say is related to some of what happened before, what the DOT from the New York State DOT was here, but the same way, are we going to see
going forward, the same way CB7 and CB10 are collaborating, coordinating, particularly, in that general area where the two CBs meet. Are we going to see the 68th precinct around at any time when these issues are being discussed? Because the lack of the 72nd being not being here, they're not being here is problematic. But I know this happens in other areas of New York City where two precincts, so what's mine? That area belongs to both precincts, and drivers understand that they get away with it because the two precincts are not really holding hands. And so children from the towers, Braidridge Towers, which I believe is serviced by the 68th precinct, come to PS 503, 506, 971, 72, I forget, and the tour. So all those issues that were discussed here of safety have to do with both precincts. So unfortunately, we're not being as successful with the 72nd as we would like, and that will go back to them at the next monthly meeting of the 72nd Precinct Council. I will personally bring that up. We missed you guys, but from the community board, I don't know who maybe from here, who could go and knock on the door of the 68th precinct as well. Should go through Gunnar, should go through Alexa, and who is it who can say, both of you need to be in the room because this affects you. The last thing I want to say is the crossing guards. All the crossing guards, 503, 506, the two on the east side, 97, people have gotten black eyes crossing. That's why people don't want those jobs. Even if you paid more money, there is the union that supposedly represents the crossing guards are not present for their own membership. So I don't know, I don't know what we can do here, but this is something that if any of you at any point have an opportunity to say, they are mostly women, they're mostly women. I'm glad that George was in the room to say, I saw it. They have cars have pumped them, like go to get, this is serious. This is, what would you call it? What is the word? You could sue those cars, and the guards that are inside the schools won't come out and protect them. So that's an issue that we need to talk about as a community, because that is really low class, when these women are out there serving our children and nobody's protecting them. Anyway,
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. I want to end on a note of a win, which I didn't bring up at the beginning. But I really want to thank Community Board 7 in particular, and folks on the Transportation Committee, and those that were involved in a committee that we had, which was the Special Committee on Last Mile Trucking. We'll also make sure this is included in the minutes, but related to last mile facilities, which are these, again, like massive distribution hubs, we have them opening in Sunset Park and Red Hook. There was a letter that was sent out on May 22nd by the Deputy Mayor for Housing, Economic Development, and Workforce. So that's Maria Torres Springer, on last mile facilities. And it was related to the City of Yes economic opportunity proposal, but I'll cut to the chase and just say specifically that the Department of City Planning is proposing and advancing a zoning change application, which would regulate last mile facilities under the City Planning special permit process. They will begin stakeholder engagement in 2024 and then issue a 30-day scoping notice by the end of March. They are also working on a, hold on, let me write the second one. It's in the context of anticipate submitting draft recommendations and investing in the development of a harbor-wide Blue Highway network. I'm just going to stick to that. This letter has a lot of other things in it, but specifically the idea that you would have to have a special permit for last mile trucking facilities. This is something that this community has really fought for. The voices came through really clearly from Community Board 7, from Community Board 6 in Red Hook, and from others related to the City of Yes economic proposal. And while this, we have this like rampant development that's happening now, but at least what this is doing is putting in a special permit process. So what you do here matters. The fact that you all show up, put the time into a hot room tonight in particular matters, and just really appreciate the community for showing up and sharing your perspective. And we will stay accountable for a lot of the topics that we covered tonight. And with that, I would love to close the meeting. Okay.
I asked.
Barry will have the last word.
I asked the state DOT, can they give us a map just like this? What ramp do they own? They'd say yes. So I just want to put that in the record a minute.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for the neighbors who came virtually and in the room tonight. It was really lovely to have you. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll wrap up the meeting. Yeah. And George, you did send the photos and then I did send them to Emily and then there was the response. Yeah. 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 Thank you. Thank you.